Hi, my name is Gibson, and I'm the co-owner and creator of the Personal Development School. This is your daily breakthrough video, and in this video, I want to talk to you a little bit about the dismissive avoidant and their fantasy world, and sort of like the idea of the phantom X that you'll often hear about. So we're going to talk about why this happens, and then like a little bit about what you should know about the underlying reasons for a lot of this. So first and foremost, many people know that avoidance, especially dismissive avoidance, have like what we call phantom exes, which is essentially somebody that they always think of from the past, somebody that they're always like sort of focusing their energy or attention on, somebody that they will fantasize about. And I want to start by clearing something up here. First and foremost, will a dismissive avoidant always have this? The answer is no. Is it something that is a pattern? The answer is yes. Is this pattern consistent throughout a relationship? The answer is no. It's very much dependent on some very specific things. So, what you should know first and foremost is that in childhood, dismissive avoidants often have very rich fantasy worlds in general. And the reason for this is the subconscious mind, if it can't get its needs met in the present, like actually in the moment, in reality with what's in front of you, it will get its needs met in its fantasies of the future or nostalgic memories of the past. And so what happens often that is that as a coping mechanism, dismissive avoidants, if they feel emotionally neglected in childhood, which they often do, they almost always do, they start fantasizing as a subconscious strategy to get their needs met. So they will often like act out, and a lot of DAs have very rich fantasy worlds where they will act out like in their vivid imagination, like things happening, characters and stories, things happening where like what they're not getting, they get met in that fantasy world. FAs can have this too to a certain degree, but DAs tend to have this substantially more so. And so DAs will like imagine characters and that let's say for example that they're feeling insignificant. They're not feeling like they're wanted or significant or given, attention to feel seen and heard growing up in childhood. They may act out a character in their fantasy world that's very significant. And so it's really interesting because like nothing we ever do is actually random. There's always some kind of subconscious strategy to get a need met with whatever we're doing, what we think about, what we focus on, what we fantasize about. All these different things are actually strategies to get needs met in different forms. So this is really interesting to give you context, right? Because then what does this mean about DA having a phantom X? Well, a dismissive avoidant, if they have this like X that they're always thinking about or reflecting on, they only do this if there's unmet needs in their lives in the relationship now. Now, there often are unmet needs for dismissive avoidance because they usually don't know how to see, hear their own needs, and vocalize them in a relationship dynamic, nor do they usually feel like they can get their needs met and receive their needs being met from people they're in relationships with because that wasn't modeled to them. They've come to really rely on themselves. So it leaves a lot of room in relationships for a dismissive avoidant to get into a cycle where they start thinking, oh yeah, like what if, thinking of the person in the past, they used to make me feel seen, they used to make me feel important, they used to build me up and give me validation, or they used to whatever it is that is missing from the dismissive avoidance relationship now. That's what that X is all about. And it doesn't mean that they love the X more or are more interested in the person from the past. It's just something they will move towards mentally, emotionally when there are unmet needs in the relationship currently. And so it's really interesting because if you are the dismissive avoidant and you find yourself doing that, what you should take a look at is, hey, guess what? This is not random. None of like the experience of this or me doing this is random. There is actually something, whatever the patterns are that I think about in relationship to that person. Maybe it's the fun we used to have. Okay, good. Then your unmet needs are probably related to fun. Maybe it is the deep conversations you used to have, the intellectual connection you had. Okay, then that's what's missing from your life now. Maybe it is, it can be any number of things, but what you want to look at is like, what are the patterns of what I'm fantasizing about? And what does that represent as an unmet need in my life now? And then when you start actually actioning those things, you get the power back in your life again. You feel like you can do relationships in a way that gets your needs met, you can feel good about things. You have a point of control, because what you can realize is what I'm always thinking about or nostalgically reminiscing about is just my mind letting me know in some form that I don't have enough of currently. And then if I can come up with a strategy to identify those needs and then action those needs so that I can get them met currently through communication, through being vulnerable and transparent. I know that's like such a scary word for dismissive avoidant, but through opening up and sharing those things, or even just through meeting those needs in some form in the relationship to yourself, even though it would, encourage you to try to grow by opening up and communicating with others, because that will be something that brings you more into like equilibrium and homeostasis or healthy interdependence. Those are all ways of making sure that you don't feel stuck with this unfulfilling way of getting your needs met, which is through always reflecting about an ex from the past. So hopefully that makes a whole lot of sense. Please do me a favor and like, share, and subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. Thank you for being here. And let me know any other questions you have about like the Phantom Ex in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching.